Namaste Yogi, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're breaking down one-legged crow. If you want to work towards this arm balance, please check out the crow pose and crane pose tutorial. They're both in one video to really make sure that you get the right foundation in crow before you move to the one-legged variation.
If you're new to our channel, welcome. I'm Bre and this is Flo.
Welcome.
We have over 100 yoga classes here on our channel, as well as tutorials breaking down foundational poses, breathwork, meditation, a little bit of everything when it comes to yoga. Please subscribe to our channel, hit the little triangle in the corner if you enjoyed this video and you got some good tips from it. That really helps us out so that we can continue creating and contributing to this YouTube community and contributing to your journey on the mat. Now that you've successfully conquered crow pose, kakasana, and you can float into it easily during your yoga practice or yoga sequences, then now is the time for you to up level, challenge yourself again, maybe try something new, face your fears of exploring a new movement in your body. We're going to walk you through everything together.
Please make sure that you're warmed up, that your wrists are warmed up, the body is warmed up, and that you feel ready and safe to put weight on the hands and to continue practicing with us in this video. Let's just have Bre come into one-legged crow so you see the pose. Perhaps you have not seen it before or heard about it before, but it's a one-legged variation of crow pose where you extend one leg back. So she's coming into regular crow pose, one leg extends back. This is the shape we're talking about today, one-legged crow, and come back down. Great job, thank you. So we'll start with crow pose, which is the absolute foundation. So you have to have the crow pose down as we explained it in the previous videos, where the knees are at the base of your arms, exactly like that. So not up into the armpit and not the arms inside the knees. You want to have the knees right at the base of the tricep, right above the elbow. So this is the crow pose with pointed toes in this case we're talking about. And from there we're moving to a one-legged variation. This is a very stable shape. You use bone stacking as we explained in the crow video, where the elbows are above the wrists and then the hips are above the elbows and knees as well. You create a strong triangle foundation here and you use your core to keep the hips lifted. You point the toes and your fingers are still your brakes and they will help you balance in this position. Now, as she comes into a crow pose first, and usually what happens, coming to crow, usually what happens is you want to bring one leg in because you feel stable here. Now you're like, okay, let's do one-legged. Bring one knee in and you fall down. Just like that. That's very common, that's very normal. So this is usually where you start and also how we started. Now let's do it again to show one more time. You feel very confident in crow. You're like, I got this one-legged. You bring it in and you fall down. That's fine. You just try again and keep practicing. Now what you want to do instead to really work towards one-legged is to slow that falling down. So you bring the knee in, you slowly fall down. Very good. And then you do this for a while and over time you get even more strong and stronger and controlled and you slow it even more down. Very good. So you keep working with that so that eventually you can keep the knee between the elbows. So this is where you want to get to so that you can hold the knee between the elbows. Yep. And then bring it back to the elbow and then come back down. So that's what you're working towards. And the best way to do that in the beginning is, of course, you will fall. Everyone will. You slow the falling down until you can hold the knee between the elbows. And then you bring it back. And that's a good drill to start and work towards one-legged crow, to bring one knee in, bring it back, and then the other knee in and bring it back. So you're kind of switching forth and back, and maybe you do 5 each side, and that's a really good way to work towards that. So one knee in, keep the elbows in, so not coming out. Everything as crow pose, bring it back, other side, back, other side. Keep the toes pointed, the heels lifted, and you go forth and back. And that's really your prep work. And the hardest part, I think, of working towards crow pose. From there, extending the leg back is a lot easier. The hardest part is really, it's the easy part. The hardest part is really to bring the knee in, because then all of a sudden there's no bone stacking here anymore, no stable structure that supports this shape. So your core has to do all the work to keep you in this position when the knee is coming in on that side. So that's something you want to work on first. Bring the knee in, you fall, you slow down the falling over and over again until you can hold the knee between the elbows. And then it's time for you to move on. Now, let's come into that shape. And you bring the knee in. Let's say you are there after weeks and months of practicing. So she has the knee in. Very good. So now to extend the leg back, there's more, as she extends, there's more weight pulling back. So she has to shift more forward to keep everything in balance. Bring the knee back into the elbows. Yep, extend it back. One more time. See how she shifts forward as the leg goes back. Very good. So you want to keep the balance between leaning forward and coming back. Our legs are long and heavy, so they pull back a lot. So we have to shift even more forward. If you have shorter or lighter legs, you might not have to shift so far forward, but you still want to shift forward so that everything is in balance.
Yeah, you can kind of think of it like a teeter-totter. So if you have all the weight here and then you put too much weight here, of course you need to counter the weight by shifting forward. So that shift forward is really important as soon as you start to extend the leg back. Otherwise, if you don't shift forward and you extend, you're just going to come right down again.
This one takes a lot of work, a lot of practice to especially get this knee between the elbows and being comfortable to hold it there. Extending it back will then come pretty fast for you. The hardest work is really to bring the knee in. We highly recommend practicing both sides. You bring one knee in, then back, and the other knee. And also when you start to extend the leg back and you actually go for the full expression of one-legged crow, then you want to also work on both sides. It's important to keep the wrists healthy. Understand that the fingers are your brakes. When you come too far forward, you can press into the fingertips. That brings you back. And watch the crow video again if you want to know how to work with a spotter, which is really helpful for this one, because you will fall perhaps forward again, and then you have the spotter there to catch you and then push you back to reset. That saves you a lot of energy, but if you don't have that, just use some pillows and everything underneath your head and your face. But if you are at this point, you should already be super comfortable with crow pose. Otherwise, if that's not the case and this is extremely hard, keep working and keep refining your crow pose. It's always good to come back to the foundations, and crow is definitely a foundational pose for a one-legged crow, and that will then also lead to air baby, which is one-legged crow but on one hand. There might be a tutorial someday on that pose. So it's important to have all of this in place and stable as you build on top. If the foundation is not there and not stable, which is really the chaturanga and plank we talked about, then there's crow, then there's one-legged crow, then there's air baby, and then there's who knows what else is coming on top. But if the foundation is not there, it's not stable enough, you will not be able to build so high or so much on top of it. So always come back and refine those foundations. If you found this useful, please subscribe, support this channel, click the triangle in the corner, hit the like button below, and we will see you in the next tutorial. Thank you so much. Keep up the practice. Stay safe, stay healthy. Namaste.